everybody, Mark here from Tiling Connect. Welcome back to the show. We have another amazing episode and two fantastic guests joining us from across the ditch, as we like to say it here in Australia, from New Zealand, all the way from Auckland. We have Dave Moore and Tony Meshouris from the Tile Depot in New Zealand. Welcome, lads, to the show.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having us. Yeah.
Awesome. Very welcome, gents. Well, we've certainly known each other for a little while now, which is good. Makes these things a little bit more comfortable. But I'm glad you could join us on the show and share some insights about New Zealand and the market over there, particularly in that tiling space and with the Tile Depot. So I think probably the best place for us to start is, and Dave, you might want to take lead here, is give us a bit of a background on, your career, your personal career, where you've come from, and a little bit about, if not a lot, about the Tile Depot.
You're awesome. Thanks, Mark. First, my name is Dave Moore. I'm the National Trade Manager for the Tile Depot. I've been with the company now 11 years, so quite a long time. And I've been in and out of the tiling industry for 20 years. So it's nearly half my life I've been in the tiling industry, which is a little bit worrying, but I'm still here because I still love it, and that's kudos to the industry. Originally, what did I do? I finished school. I ended up in a landscaping job, and I used to work right next door to a tiling shop, tiling company, and I worked at the landscaping yard for quite a while. I ended up leaving there, went to another company. And when I was, whenever I'd go back out East Auckland, I'd always go on to see the landscaping yard, say hello to a few mates that worked there. And I used to always go and have coffee at the coffee shop. One day when I was out there, the owner or the manager at the time said, "Dave, do you want a job?" And the company that I'd moved to, I really didn't like. And I literally said yes on the spot. So 23, 24 years old, I was in the tiling world, and that was it. And the guy that was actually running the trade at the time, he was very, very good, and he actually left quite probably within a few months of me being there, and so I actually became the trade manager of that shop. And then the manager left, a while later, and me and a girl there, we ended up managing that shop. So suddenly, going from here to there, and I was co-managing a shop, and I actually ended up leaving when I travelled overseas. Ended up teaching in Southeast Asia, which was an incredible experience. And after doing that for a while, English.
Oh, okay. like all good travellers.
Yeah, exactly right. I had no clue what I was doing, which was definitely an eye-opener.
Nice.
But again, you sort of wing it with a bit of flair, and sort of got through that. And I ended up coming back and working for the same company. And I worked again for them for a while, and then I ended up going back overseas and teaching, and that was actually a really long stint. I was over there for a good couple of years, and after running out of money, wasn't a good income overseas, the owner of the company got hold of me and said, "Do you want to come back?" So I ended up coming back and working for the same company again. So
yeah, nice.
I was with them for a long time, and I want to, I think like anyone wants to do in any career, you want to progress. And look, I really enjoyed the trade. I think it's, tiling trade. I love dealing with tradies. Good thing I really enjoy is not a lot of work, or not a lot of work talk if you get the right products and you know what you're talking about. So you're just talking like we are now, really everyday conversation. And I really pushed to become actually overseeing trade in the whole company, because that's what I really, really loved. We'd been very successful in that when I was managing the tile shops. And after quite a while, after really, really pushing it didn't work out. And I randomly, through someone I knew in the tiling industry, I hadn't caught up with him for a long time. We reconnected and said, "Dave, you're interested in a job at Tile Depot?" And I didn't know anything about Tile Depot at the time, and ended up catching up with the general manager at the time, and sort of put it on the table. Then I caught up with the owner, and next day said, "Dave, we want to offer you the job." They didn't even back then, they didn't even really concentrate on trade so much. They did have obviously a lot of trade customers coming through, but it wasn't really their key focus. And I'm sitting here now with Tile Depot 11 years later as the national trade manager of the company.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, mate, look, before we get into more about the Tile Depot, that's a really cool journey, by the way. Let's just jump over to Tony, because Tony, I'm not sure if you can better Dave's story, but please
Got better.
share with us, mate, how your journey started in the Tile Depot, mate, and more specifically what your role is too.
Sure, absolutely. So I've been with the Tile Depot now for nearly coming up to 6 years, and I'm the trade business development manager. So what that means is very much trade based, getting out in front of the tilers, go meet the guys out on site, facilitate their needs, upskill in products that we have and systems, and new customers, existing customers, a little bit of account management as well. Really trying to get out and to see as many tilers as I can, I love it. So
Nice.
my background is like, I was working out the other day, I've been in the tiling industry for 40 years now. So
Holy
you
crap.
wouldn't think it looking at me, but but yeah, no, I actually started as a Saturday boy in a tile shop when I was 15. And
Yeah.
on a Saturday would go and do deliveries with the delivery driver and push a broom around the shop. And so that's how I kind of started. And then during the school holidays, I'd try and get a bit of extra pocket money. So this tile shop had a couple of tilers, and they did a little bit of supply and install. So I would go and do a bit of grouting and a bit of cleaning up. And, it was good fun, got a bit of money. And when it came to leaving school, it was the easy option. I knew these guys already. They knew that I was keen to work. And so, I started doing an apprenticeship and, got on the tools. And, we did a lot of work around central London, some amazing jobs. We did, started with a lot of residential stuff, some really huge commercial jobs as well. A lot of work at the London Docklands, all different types and facets of tiling. So I did that until 2007 when I came to New Zealand and started up my own business here. And so then started doing a bit of work, buying materials from the Tile Depot in 2007. Around that time, I first met Mr. David Moore in the opposition. And so I had my own business, here for approximately about 12 years. Which was great, it was good to come to another country. And even though it's tiling, things, systems are different, some products are different, so always learning. And then I went traveling for 15 months, took the family up Heaved and said, look, let's go do a bit of a tiki tour. Went away, and within, I've been tiling by this point for about 35 years and or 30 something years. My knees are gone, my back's gone, my wrists are gone. Within 3 weeks of being away, all the aches and pains went away, and thought, well, I love tiling. It's just something that I've been passionate about for a long time, but I just got to listen to your body. So when I got back to New Zealand, I popped in to say hi to the guys in the Tile Depot again, because they're kind of like family. I've been in and out of the store in one of the suburbs, Albany, for many, many years. Popped in and had a good chat, and they said, "Hey, Tony, you're back now. I'm sure you'd be looking for work." And I'm like, I don't know. And then the manager of the store looked at me and went, "Are you looking for a job?" And I was like, "Maybe." And I think the rest is history. So it's been a great 6 years. Yeah.
That's awesome, mate. Very cool journey, and I've always been interested. I haven't been fortunate enough to talk to anybody on this program yet that's transitioned from being an installer or a contractor into more of a sales or BD role. Mate, what do you think? How does that help you? How does that translate and help you with what you do in your role today? Knowing that you've got the trade behind you, then being able to have, those sort of conversations with contractors that you're dealing with every day.
Sure. Well, I suppose absolutely. it's almost in my DNA. I know the materials that Tyler's used, the methodology of what they do. I've talked to Tyler's for the last 40 years. I know the pitfalls and the hardships and and the good times. But I think it's really having a really good understanding of their wants and needs. And a really good understanding of the products, because we know that not one product's for every situation. It's just been fantastic to impart. Obviously over so many years, you're always learning. So you're always picking up new knowledge and new tidbits of information. So it's just being able to pass it on. Absolutely.
It's interesting, and look, I mean, I don't come from a tiler background or a contractor background, but certainly I have dabbled in the art of tiling. Certainly not a professional, not an expert, but love the trade, because we're here today doing a podcast about the tiling community. So no, mate, thanks for sharing. Dave, just shooting back to you for a second, mate. The Tile Depot. Tell us about who they are, what they do, and the organisation in the New Zealand market there.
Yeah, cool. Look, the Tile Depot now has 14 shops nationwide. Originally started in 1995 by two people called Craig and Ken. That came from a very different background from tiling. Craig was an accountant for a large, well-known building company. And obviously probably had enough of that and decided that he wanted to get out of it, and through someone he knew, speaking about tiling, and decided that he'll start importing some tiles into a small shop out in Panmure in Auckland, and opened a tile shop, not knowing anything about the tiling game. Obviously with Ken joining forces with him. I think they originally had 23 options when they opened the doors, whereas when you look downstairs now, I think we're up over 1,000, if not a lot more.
23 different tile types.
Correct. Well, yeah, shapes, colours. To well over 1,000 options now. So a huge change from, was it now 30 years ago now? And obviously they had success in their shop. So Ken was actually based down in Hamilton in New Zealand, and he decided that was where the first shop opened. The second shop opened, and they opened a tile shop down there. And then actually one of Craig's his brother-in-law said to him, I'm really interested in what you're doing. Again, not knowing anything about tiles, and that was our first franchise, which is in Manukau in Auckland. Then it grew from there. So, and now 14 shops nationwide, over 110 staff. The thing with Tile Depot is Craig and Prue still own a fair share of this company, but their son Mike Siddle is the general manager now. Craig, we'd like to say Craig and Prue have retired. That's Craig's wife, but they're still behind the scenes, still doing things. Mike's being the general manager, and then Karen, their daughter, also works in the commercial team as part of the exec team. So still, I think probably the biggest thing through all this is it's a very family-run business, which resonates to so many of our staff. We're all from families, and it's some of the reasons we're still, a lot of us are still here. We're very lucky in our company. We have a very low staff turnover, and with that, when people leave, it's for a very good, genuine reason. It's not because they don't like the Tile Depot. I think we have multiple staff that have been here 5, 10. We had someone celebrate their 15 years the other day. We've got another staff member. Cool. Yeah. Someone start in November, 20 years.
Yeah, holy crap. Yeah, you don't hear those sort of stories anymore. Well, you do, but not as often. And I certainly think that, when you talk about 10, 15 and 20 year celebrations of people being in a business, that's certainly our generation and era. I know the younger generations, like the Gen Zs, I mean, and it's generational, so that no disrespect, but certainly their generations, they might be in a job for 12, 18, 24 months max, and then they're moving on to a different thing or a different flavour. So that's That's very cool, mate. I appreciate you sharing. And I imagine, given that New Zealand, I suppose just in terms of context, 14 stores is actually a rather large number when you think about the population in New Zealand, because we're only talking about, what is it, 5.5 million and declining, because everyone's moving out. Is it going north? I'm not sure. I keep hearing all the media stories about how everyone's moving out of New Zealand.
Oh, look, Australia's definitely doing a lot to capture a lot of our good people and sending them over there. You've got a lot of good draw cards over there, Mark. A lot of nice sunshine, good pay packages.
Yeah.
It's just very hot, us Kiwis, a bit acclimatised here. But yes, it's...
Sorry, Tony.
Got a lot of creepy. You've got a lot of creepy crawlies there. A lot of things that want to bite you. I'll turn it around.
It's you Europeans and you Americans that think that it's a dangerous place. It's no more or less dangerous than being in the States and having someone walk down the street with a bloody 9mm gun in their holster, and you're like, that's odd. There's just alligators, spiders, and crocodiles. Oh, they're the same. Crocodiles, spiders, snakes. But mate, if you don't annoy them, they won't annoy you. That's the rule.
Sharks.
Sharks. The ocean surrounds us all, Tony. Come on.
Platypus. They're venomous too.
Oh, gold. I love it.
What are those strange birds they got over there? Ibises? We don't have those here.
Yeah, we call them bin chickens because they end up in near the bins and they pull the lids open and they get all the scraps and stuff out of the bins. It's just, it's horrible. Anyway, I digress. So thanks for sharing. Love it. Tell me about the New Zealand tiling market. I suppose specifically tile designs and sort of materials that have been emerging over sort of the last few years. What's sort of happening in there, and just so we can sort of compare to what is happening around in the Australian market and overseas further.
I think we're definitely seeing a big uptick in larger format tiles now. I'm actually looking over at some of the tile displays in one of our showrooms, and 4 or 5 years ago there would have been 3 or 4 6x1200 tiles, in the whole store, and now I'm looking at possibly maybe 100, and ever increasing, So the large format rectified porcelain absolutely is definitely taken off here. But having said that, we're seeing a lot of smaller format tiling as well again, So it's just, I suppose the world's your oyster, really. There's such an amazing selection, going from, your mosaics, your feature walls now seem to be really sort of taking hold as well, with, smaller format with colour schemes and bright colours as well. So mosaics to, your traditional sort of subway tiling, it seems to never go away. But there's definitely a huge market for, 6x6 is here to stay for a long time still, rectified porcelain. But the technology is just, it just keeps improving, as I said, I've been tiling for a long time, and the days of when I started, Dave was saying there's 24 ranges or tiles, 11 years ago, or when the tile depot started, sorry. When I started, it was all, 150 mil tiles, 100 mil tiles, your Pilkingtons, your crystals, just very, very basic single-faced tile, and that was it, in green or pink, and that was it. So to see what we have now, from your, natural stone sort of lookalikes, so you've got all these amazing, tiles, many faces and patterns and textures. It's just, a huge selection. Yeah.
And Tony, thanks for sharing. Dave, I'll jump to you in a second on that. But Tony, are you finding that the contractors or the tradies, tilers, in particular, are embracing the larger format stuff? Because look, we sort of know that the smaller format have been around some time, and they're not particularly challenged to install unless they've got a 3D type surface, and then cutting them can be a bit challenging. But in terms of the glues and the installation methods, that's all pretty much the same. The large format stuff's very complicated in terms of lifting, handling, adhesive, substrate, all that sort of stuff. I mean, what are the guys embracing it over there? What are they doing? Oh, guys and girls, I should say. What are they doing?
Mm-hmm. It took some time. 100%. As I said, in the early days, especially, guys getting to grips with it, because we understand that a 6x12 is it's heavy. It's there's obviously going to be a lot of cutting involved and lifting and more materials used. Your substrate has to be pretty good, otherwise you just build it out forever. And obviously, with pricing, it took a while for the guys to get the pricing that it's worth, to be fair, to get it out, So even from point of showing the tiles in the shop, we would let the customers know that, this tile here, as beautiful as it is, just to let you know, there's probably going to be, there's going to be a cost, an extra cost for it in the labor side of things. So, just I suppose pre-warning, really. So, and of course, having the right tools for the job, so, so I'd say now it's a lot better, I'd say it's a lot better now. The guy, the pricing somewhat there.
Nice. Dave, any extra words to throw into that mix, throw into the mix with that conversation?
Well, look, you mentioned the word materials before. I try to stay away from tiles. My forte is and definitely the material side of things. So I've never laid a tile in my life. Look, I've sold, what have I sold in the years? I sold Marpe, ASA, which is now Bostik, sold Conchem, Seeker. It's probably another couple that we've thrown in there. And getting an understanding of the materials that are available, they really are similar. And there hasn't been a lot of changes in our industry over the last 10, 15 years. But probably the biggest one, especially for New Zealand, was actually epoxy grout, which I'll go into in a second. But we are now starting to see some new developments, especially with the word silica, silicosis, which I know, Mark, you've done stuff on that, and it's a very big word, especially in Australia, and it's slowly coming here. We're seeing, slowly but surely, no silica-based glues coming here, and the market's definitely sort of tending towards that way. We've just launched one through Seeker, which has got no silica in it, which, that's a whole other conversation, understanding silicosis and silica.
That'll be the tile demo part too.
Yeah, that's a whole podcast in itself. The other thing we see here, and from what I understand, and I'm not sure if you do know, Mark, is we see a huge amount of epoxy grout being used. I was actually in the tile industry when epoxy grouts first sort of really stemmed out here. And over the last sort of 15 years, 12, 15 years, it's just grown into an absolute behemoth, and it's most commonly used in so many jobs now. And, everyone's mentality towards it is bulletproof and it doesn't stain, which most of the time is correct. And so really those are, materials and wise, the two really big things we've probably seen over the last sort of, many years of sort of changes in the New Zealand market.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah,
cool. No, that's good. I mean, look, epoxy grout, as we all know, been around a long time, and it's one of those things where I think installers love or hate to use it, and then they love or hate the conversations that they have to have with clients about using it, because a lot of the times clients don't want to pay the extra money, or they're only prepared to pay a little bit more. They don't want to pay, the full tick. And it's, it can be, depending upon which brand you're using, a bit more complicated to install. Some are probably a little bit more, some are a bit easier, but generally your techniques are all different. It's a stickier product to work with. You can't spread as much epoxy in one go as what you can cementitious grouts. So I hear you. But that's cool. That's cool that epoxy is being embraced. And sort of moving forward from that topic, and when we talk about what the Tile Depot is doing in terms of sustainability and eco-friendly options in the business, I mean, what are you guys offering to customers today that would be different to, say, your competitors, or just different in general?
Oh, look, I actually got clued up by the GM on this one because it's this big thing, and he really, really behind the scenes does a lot in this. I think if we look at it, look, this is the same problem worldwide. Is depending on how large that tile is and how small is, we're getting a lot. You get a lot of wastage. Anywhere from 10 to 20%. Now, as a company, we import about 500 containers a year of tiles. So if you start, and that's, I think it's probably a good thing, for the Australian market here is New Zealand's about, we've sort of done some rough maths on this. It's about a fifth or a sixth of the size of the Australian market due to population and how much tile we use in our houses. It's a lot less in New Zealand because it's obviously not as hot. And so, we're getting it. You think about 500 containers a year, and we're just one company. How much wastage you're going to get from tiles. So we're constantly looking at different things we can do with that wastage and how to use that. There definitely is no golden goose to sort on this out. But at the moment, we're currently looking at a lot of different ways, and going into landfills is not ideal. We do work with different groups to donate tiles to, especially with end of lines, etc., and what we can do there. But it's a hard one, and the product comes from the earth, so in theory it will go back into the earth. But to import that much, it's and lose that much, up to 15% is a lot. Tile depot New Zealand, from what my knowledge is only really one tile manufacturer, and it's more on your decorative sort of terracotta side of things. So very, very small. Yeah. So pretty much all our tiles coming from overseas. So carbon footprint right there. So we actually, to offset our carbon footprint, we're involved in Trees That Count initiative, which is when you fund for tree planting. Nice. Yeah, it's to do with how many containers you bring in, and it's hard. What's the best way? But plant more trees. We've cut a lot down over the last couple of thousand years, so it's nice to put a bit back into the earth. And we do a monthly. I think it's a monthly donation, and how many how many containers we import. So
with the sorry to cut you off, but just with the manufacturers of tiles that you're dealing with, and I'm not sure whether or not we will have all the right information today, but are the manufacturers in, say, Italy, Spain, China, Turkey, India, are they talking a lot about sustainability and how they can the sustainable practices that they're inputting into their businesses that will transcend into customers like you guys? Is there anything notable worth talking about there?
Yeah, look, obviously me and Tony working so living in trade. We're not so involved on the tile import side of things. I have seen companies coming out with recycled products in there, and reusing it. Again, I'm not 100% sure. We're gonna see a lot more stuff coming through, which will probably be more. I think a lot of these initiatives they're only just getting off the ground, and we're only going to see things improve hugely. And how we do things. So, really as an industry, we want tiles to keep going. It's our market.
Absolutely, mate. Look, we in Australia, probably the last decade, the imports have fluctuated anywhere from 34 million up to 36 million square meters a year annually. So that's the sort of product that's coming into Australia. That's imported in. That's not to do with anything that's made here locally as well. So you've also got the locally made NCIA tiles, which are, they can be a swear word for every second tiler, or they can be a product that every customer loves. So we won't get into that. But so it's a big number. So look, let's talk trade then, because trade is really a lot about what the Tile Depot are well known about being experts at. And I'm curious to know what the typical trade customer journey in your store is. So give us a look at that. Happy for you guys to bounce around on this. And what steps do you guys ensure you embrace and undertake to deliver a really positive shopping experience for them?
I think first and foremost, we try to be we very much try to be a one-stop shop. We want the guys to come in everything that they need is here. So they come here, they can get they get a lovely cup of coffee and a welcome as they come through the door. Absolutely. But we actually have two main suppliers of trade products. We have an Australian company, Construction Chemicals, and we have Seeker products with full systems, from woe to go, from primers, waterproofing systems to the adhesives, the grouts, the whole shebang. We've got, underfloor heating. We have, screeds. We have everything, So the guys can come, they can get everything they need. We have a dedicated trade manager in every store who's obviously upskilled with all the products that we have. And we also upskill in the knowledge of tiling as well. Nice. You come through the tilers come in the store and, they've got someone who is knowledgeable and should be able to facilitate their needs as well, we just try to. We got a lot of regular customers that come in, a lot. So it's all about relationships at the end of the day, isn't it? So we want to keep those relationships strong, and we get a lot of DIYers, so we want to be there for them too, and the new guys too. So we try to be there for everyone.
Absolutely. Dave, I was going to chime in, but I'll give you the stage for a little bit first because I'm sure you want to throw some stuff in there.
Yeah, I think I probably forgot quite a bit at the beginning, actually, of why I'm sort of where we are as Tile Depot and why I'm sort of sitting here. In the regards, when I first started Tile Depot, the owner was like, "Off you go, Dave. You're the trade manager of the company. Off you go." It was a very strange sort of like they didn't have the role, so he just said, "Off you go." Yeah. And so one of the first things we implemented, which Tony pointed on, I picked up on, was we actually put trade managers into each shop. Obviously responsible for overseeing the trade division, upskilling staff, building the staff's knowledge around them, making sure everything's operational because their key role is making sure that everything's done properly. All our other staff in our shops' lives are a lot easier. So that was one of the first things that we really implemented. I just did a quick tally up, across our company now. Just our key trade staff alone, we have over 210 years of experience.
Wow.
Which is,
it's a big number.
It's a lot of knowledge. And I think, this industry needs that knowledge. It really does because it's an important industry. And I think we're probably going through that a little bit soon. But when you involve waterproofing, etc., which is one of Tyler's key roles, it can cause a lot of problems. So, but yeah, as Tony said, people come in, especially new tilers. We've got a huge amount of tilers on our database, massive. So we constantly putting out information, trying to upskill them, promotions, keeping in regular contact. When a new tiler walks in, we've got the right people to know what to say and what to do. And then after they actually walk out our door, we have a really cool follow-up package. Because you don't, on meeting anyone for the first time, could be the smallest tile in the world, which are important, or the biggest. And so we really want to treat everybody the same and give them the same, experience because it's your first and last impression if you don't do it well. And so again, and that's working with our trade team, getting them upskilled on how to really, look after these customers because someone may come in your shop and buy tiles. You may not see them for 10 years, but with any tradies, you see so many of them we see every day, and we spend a lot of time standing at the coffee machine, talking nothing about work and drinking coffee, but that's the experience you want. And with the tiler, and it's probably the same in Australia, tilers a lot of the time they don't want other trades working around them. It's a pretty lonely trade, or it can be. You're in a bathroom by yourself, and so their talk is when they come into tile shops. So when they actually get some, you can talk about whatever you want. So we really try to provide that experience for them.
So it's very much like that human connection, right? So the question I'll put out there for both of you is that when you're, and I don't know about your hiring processes. So when you're looking for people to work in the business, and you guys obviously both work in the business, and you're here today, and you've been in the business for some time, so you clearly love what you do, and you've shared that with us today. And when you're looking for new people to work in the business, what's sort of the more important thing that you look at in terms of hiring someone in this trade manager's role? Is attitude first the most important thing, or would you choose someone over the knowledge that they have to work in the business? How does that work? Give me your outlook on that.
It's got to be a combination, doesn't it? I think attitude is key. You want someone who's outgoing, don't you? And willing to learn. So not everyone that's going to come into a trade manager position is probably going to have the knowledge of being a tiler or a tradie beforehand. Although recently we've seen an uptick in it. Hey, Dave, we've had several managers that have come through, but yeah, absolutely. You've got to be outgoing and enthusiastic. I mean, enthusiasm goes a long way. Quick to learn, I suppose. Dave's going to go on about computers, so I think a very average use of a computer, I think, is key. I think some people will digress, but yeah, I think a great willing to learn, being part of a team, because at the end of the day, at the Toll Depot, we're very much, as I said, we've got the trade manager, but you're around other members of staff. You've got members on the floor, the manager. So it's really being part of a team and actually mucking in. So you do, primarily as a trade manager, you do a lot of trade-based work and you spend a lot of time with the traders. But you've equally got to get out there with the retail customers and sell the dream of a splashback or several bathrooms. So yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a combination, willing to learn and be a bit of a go-getter. Yeah.
I think attitude is key, because if you're not, knowledge only ever means so much. I've seen great attitudes in the industry when they're going to learn because you've got a great attitude. But I've also seen people with a huge amount of experience that don't know how to share that because they haven't got the right attitude. So, to me, probably attitude is number one, because you're going to be able to teach anyone anything. I actually saw a great podcast on this exact conversation the other day. And, it's just about your attitude. You go in there with the right attitude. That means you're open, wanting to learn anything, and you can adapt and change and do whatever you need to do. So, yeah, look, attitude's huge. And, yeah, look, with employing, obviously, I've been part of that process. And it's quite funny, as a company, we obviously have your questions you ask about a person when you interview them, etc. My questions are very different because of I'm looking just for really good, genuine people that can love talking, having fun. People that can relate to other people, and I think that's and I've heard other podcasters that have been with you, Mark, say it before, is that relationships are key. It's people buy off people, and if you don't get on with someone, you're not going to go back and see them. If you don't, you can learn anything technically wise if you need to, but the attitude in those relationships, that relationship is built as if you don't know, you go and find out and get back to the person and help them. That's their right attitude. It's not knowledge, and then you learn from that. So relationship, yeah. No,
it's important. Relationships are super important, and I sort of, it's a bit of a loaded question that I asked because obviously as well my background and what I did, and I also believe exactly what you guys shared with us today is that attitude is really important, and having a trade manager in those stores for a contractor to be able to talk with, share knowledge, get the right information, have the right level of follow-up, all those things, and there's so many more ingredients in that mix. But the trade people, without that dedicated trade person there, the tradie or contractor can get lost a little bit in the retail land. So I think it's a really good formula to have a retail and trade person working in that space, and then them crossing over. So and I've seen that obviously with you guys firsthand as well in the business there, and met many of the trade staff, which were all really cool. Very cool. Yeah. So. Sorry, Dave. No, go. Get in.
I was just going. There's so much knowledge to be known, and really, you need. If you send out an email to get done, and I send out lot of emails, which I'll try and sort that out one day. Thanks, Tony. But again, you need someone in there actually, everyone's going to learn differently. So if everyone gets the same email, you just got 5 different people. If you send to 5 people reading that differently, you really need that key person being able to then go through that email with all the staff and, really upskill them on it, because it's a lot. The trade industry is a non-stop barrage of new information and trying different things and stuff. So having that key point of contact that can really help, with all the staff, because collectively it's a team in that shop that will be a success of that trade, that shop and trade. If not, it's the trade manager's role is a really big cog in the wheel, and you need that for the success of that branch.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's very cool. Well, look, we're getting to the prickly end of some of our questions, but I certainly have a few more I would like to ask today. And this is probably a little bit more retail focused, but I'm very curious about what some of the common mistakes you guys see homeowners make when choosing tiles. And look, I suppose on the back end of that, what advice would you give for a successful installation? Like, what are the steps that happen in New Zealand?
Tony, you're a tiler, mate.
Okay. Okay. So there we go. Okay. So I suppose for a good installation, I think first and foremost, communication is absolutely the key. A good line of communication. And the pitfall that I see with lots of customers is, price isn't everything. You come across it. I used to get numerous phone calls from customers who had paid, minimum cost, the job stuffed out, and then they're calling someone else. Numerous times I'd put a quote in on, I'd lost out because, I just was too high and the customer had gone for the lowest quote. Well, you kind of get what you pay for sometimes. So, I think customers should do due diligence. Obviously, go with referrals for tilers, because the thing about tiling is, it is a craft, it is an art, and there's a lot of tilers out there, but there's only a few real craftsmen and tradesmen, I'd say. So referrals are key. Someone's had a good experience with a tiler and they get on forwarded to their mate. Listen to them, get them around, and look, price is important, of course it is, but with tiling there's nowhere to hide. That finished job is the finished article, so and if there's a big difference in price, you've got to ask the questions, why is there such a big difference in price? Are they using the right materials in the right situation, and is it potentially, and most customers don't know this, but potentially then is it open for failure? So price isn't everything. Communication. Yeah. So that's where I would be with for a good installation. In regards to tiles in a store when choosing tiles, I've done quite a bit of floor work in my time at the tile depot, and numerous times I get a lot of customers say, well, I'm going to use a small tile in this situation because I'm only tiling a small area. Well, it's not necessarily so. Sometimes a bigger tile will look great, smaller joints, and sometimes you at the end of the day the customer is always right, but you can try and veer them. Sometimes they almost are making their new bathroom look a little bit old-fashioned with some of the choices that are making with some of their smaller format tiles sometimes. But I think that's kind of the advice I would give, that in a small area big tiles look great. They give a sense of they do give a sense of space. Yeah.
Look, I just want to, I appreciate that, Tony. One of the things that I want to pick up on, you were saying before about price is important. And I use this quite often, and I've been talking a lot about this lately, about educating consumers in particular, because you find that, like, I use the phrase "a price is irrelevant," but it's not necessarily the most important thing that you should be talking about at the start of any conversation, because everyone has a budget in life. They have a number that they can work to. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's the lowest common denominator in price that they need to work with, but they need to understand that different people can offer different services, and that means if you're on a budget and price is relevant, you need to have that conversation at some point through the journey, because one tiler might be able to charge one tiler might be able to provide the services of, say, $40 or $50 a square metre for laying a particular type of tile, where another one might only be able to do it for 30. That might just be, the price range. Now, there's some pretty foreign numbers. Like, I know it's obviously in a lot of cases much higher, but I think I hear all too often, particularly here in Australia, how consumers are always talking about getting the lowest possible price to install tiles. And I'm like, you're absolutely insane for having that conversation. Are you not seeing what has been happening in the industry for the last 10, 20, 30 years? When you squeeze people on price, you're taking away profitability from the contractor, which means they have to find ways. And I don't know what those methods are, and we're not going to talk about it today, but certainly they have to find ways to do that job at a cheaper rate if they want to take the work on. They may not necessarily want to, but maybe having money come in is more important than having nothing. So
Sure.
It's a really, really interesting topic, but I think we've been talking a lot about this, about the consumer education piece around what is in that space, because there's so much talk about educating contractors, and we talk about business courses and accountancy courses and all that sort of stuff, and then obviously knowledge with products. But I think there's a big piece that consumers need to understand about what price is relatable to what they're purchasing and how that transcends into a project. And the lowest possible price, usually in most cases, is not the best choice.
Sure.
Anyway,
I completely agree. Yeah.
I'll put that out there so you guys can have a chat about it now.
I think the best thing is when you're going to go and get a tattoo, do you go and get the cheapest tattoo you can find? No, it's a really good way of putting it, right? Because visually tiles are what you see, and you don't go and bargain with a tattoo artist, do you? I haven't. No. Of course, there's going to be people out there that will push the boundaries. You're going to get that anywhere, any product you buy, but you've got to have some sort of type of faith that at the same time, when a tiler is on site and they're pricing in, they also need to explain. These people are salespeople too, and it's a really big thing I say to a lot of tilers is you need to sell your business. You may be incredibly good with your hands, which 95% of them are, but you need to still sell that and why you're doing this, because a lot of people will look at a quote as black and white as that, and you need to explain to people why, and it's going to get your business across the line. As Tony said before, communication is key. If people don't know, then they don't know, and they'll look at price as black and white as that is.
Yeah, and it's context, right? You have to take them on that journey. You have to explain to them why the price is what it is per square metre, and why you're charging a rate for prep before you start any of the work. And I think the more you can share with the customer, the more chance you've got of having a really excellent experience doing the work for that client, and then you've got a really an even higher chance of getting full payment at the end of the job. Because again, we're held. I think contractors are held to a very, very high standard because of particular shows and stuff that are on TV. And we're not going to mention any names because I don't want to get into any trouble. But certainly some of the things that I've seen in the last week, I know are being talked about a lot amongst the tiler community on particular social media pages about some of the installation methods on some of the tiles. So it's it's an interesting space. Anyway, that'll probably be a part 2 because we could be here all day talking about that.
That's a podcast in itself, I think, isn't it?
It is a podcast in itself, and I need to have a lawyer right here beside me just to make sure that we don't say the wrong things. Anyway, moving on. So let's talk about the tiling trade in New Zealand. Are there any particular challenges that you're facing at the moment? If so, what are they? And I'm sure there are, because there's always bloody challenges in life. Talk me through what's going on there.
Tony, you want me to go?
You go.
Dave,
You go.
you
And
haven't
I'll,
spoken
I'll
for
handle
Dave.
it. Yeah.
Look, I've just got a quick list of things, and one of the things is small houses, right? We're going to townhouses everywhere, and it wasn't a common, pre-COVID, it wasn't that common, and you see consents now for townhouses. Smaller houses means less tiles. It's a very simple maths equation, and so that's a big thing. But there's everyone's building, and also everyone's building up a set of wide now. So it's definitely created its own issues having smaller houses. Obviously, multiple flooring products come in, so not just tiles. Luckily, tiles have been around. Geez, what BC I think is actually they found the first mosaics. So tiles have been around forever, and luckily they probably will never change. They're always going to be in fashion, but in different sizes. But obviously, different flooring is coming in. A lot of people using the word waterproof, water resistant around different flooring options. So there's multiple things that will come in. And I think probably the big one is, and Mark, I think from what my understanding is Australia's different, but bad practices. And I know, me and Tony, Jesus, we have this conversation every day, is bad tilers, bad practices, bad installations, leaky showers. It gives the industry a bad name. And you just go into Google and type in there's just leaky showers on Australia tile. You're going to find a heap. It's not using New Zealand name, otherwise people will get ideas. But it's a problem, and that's just bad installations. And one of the issues in the New Zealand tile industry is tomorrow I can sign write a van, put some nice clothes on, give myself a diary, and go and start advertising that I'm a tiler. It's a problem.
Right. Yeah.
So
there's no licensing there at all.
No, there is a recognised qualification, but you don't have to do it. And I'm actually on the board of that. And our big approach is how to start working with tilers to try to get them to do the course, because I've never found anyone that said it is a bad course. And the more it becomes normal, then the more we're going to see an upskill in tilers. So is it a major problem? I wouldn't say it's a major problem. I'd say it's a problem. But as an industry, we collectively need to work together. It's not about one company here. It's about an industry that we actually need to improve the standards to make sure that tiles are still around in 10, 20 years and looked at a premium, beautiful, affordable product. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. Very cool.
And I suppose also talking about, with the industry is getting the younger guys through as well. So this is all part and parcel of it, having these companies out there that you can train up with over several years, because you need to get the young guys on board, and tiling it's an awesome trade, and it's just getting out there and it's education, educate the guys, get them trained up, get them to do it correctly from day dot, because unfortunately, if you do a bad practice from day dot, you're doing it wrong. You think you don't know you've had a failure for several years, where you've all of a sudden had several failures you don't know have yet happened. So, with the right training and qualifications as well, it goes hand in hand for future.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I agree with both perspectives, and I think that all of those things need to continue to happen, like training, education, licensing, putting the limelight on tiling so that it's seen as a really glamorous trade, because it is. It's a craft and it's an art. And I think for a long time we haven't had that sort of support. And I'm hoping that this podcast is aiding in that and assisting in doing that as well, because we have all of those outside influences impacting the industry. You've got vinyl, and you've got carpet, and you've got new technologies, and you've got all these different things. You've got smaller building and construction designs. You've got modular now just booming in Australia. We've got the government who's committed to building 1.2 million homes over 5 years. That's a lot of houses. when you've got all these other competing factors happening. So, you know, the modular guys are just rubbing their hands together going, well, this is gold for us because we can build these modulars in 12 weeks. You know, they're done in factories and the quality of them is phenomenal compared to 15 years ago. You know, I look at where I'm in life and, you know, if I had to make a choice about buying a home again, I'd probably look at something modular because it's you get older, you tend to live a bit more of a simplified life and things don't matter anymore. You know, you don't need to buy shit to feel good about life. Life's great itself. It's its own reward. So, yeah, it's interesting, very interesting, but really awesome chatting with you about all this stuff too. So we're just going to get to the very pointy end of the conversation. We'll just have a couple more questions. What I would like to find out, just very briefly, Dave, just technology in your business there in New Zealand, inside of the Tile Depot, has it had any sort of impact, you know, from a business perspective with your inventory management or anything like that at all, or how does it work for you guys?
Well, I think you know, just trying to set up for the podcast today, especially with Tony, our technology has been hugely impacted
It was
by our computer systems. It was.
I test it to the max.
we did test the technology, but after Tony's computer crash and how many startup pop-up windows popped up and then how many windows he had and no updates on his computer system, I think we should probably start concentrating on that technology first. Look, technology is an interesting one when it comes. We have tile visualizers where you can actually create a visual room with using our tiles that we're looking at improving too. But look, technology, we're probably quite lucky in the regards to tiles you have to feel them, you have to see them, you can visually see a visualizer and look at them, but you're not going to buy until you've seen it in real life. And so I think as an industry, we're probably very lucky that, you know, technology it'll improve certain things when it comes to writing, and, you know, everyone knows that I love ChatGPT. But, you know, when it comes to selling and stuff, you've got to be in shops. You've got to see our, you know, displays. You've got to see the tiles. So, look, how does it impact it? You know, it's not a major problem. I think in you know, people have to come and store. You know, you're not going to see online sales.
Look, I agree. I think if you're buying white, black, grey, brown tile, and it's a 100 by 300, 200 by 200, or it's a 600 by 600, whatever the size is, if you're doing any of that sort of shopping online, perfectly fine. And if it's for a purpose, like, you know, it might be for a factory, or it might be for an industrial business, or it could be for a splashback in a restaurant. You're doing that sort of work, you don't need to go to a shop traditionally. Unless you're a people person, but if you just need a price and a colour and a tile, you might go and shop online. But I think there's such a design element to tiles, and there is that touch and feel, and they want to feel the glaze, and they want to, you know, do all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I think we're a long way off being a fully online industry. I think it'll play a part today, but certainly I think we're still a good 5 or so years away from it having major impact on people's shopping habits.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yes, well, that's. I'm putting it out there. So, guys, let's wrap up. Sorry, no, you're right. Go.
I was just going to look. It's probably for the same for the trade. You can go online and click and collect whatever you want, but as I said before, you know, you want that human interaction. You want to be able to go and see that person you see every day or every second day, and see what happened in the football over the weekend, or whatever you're into, and talk about your kids, or you know, you want some. That's why we do what we do. It's because of this. You know. Yeah.
You know the C word that happened in 2019 or 2020 or whatever it was. That even made it more real about how having personal in-touch relationships are today, and particularly in the sales space. Like, you know, everyone went through their own journey in that time, and I think we all come out of it the other side, particularly people in sales and business development, went, I never want to not be away from people ever again. So, because for a couple of years there, people couldn't touch and hold hands and high fives and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so it's important. Look, we're just getting to the last part. I'm just going to ask you guys for a really quick answer each on just this last piece, which is something, a little bit more about you guys personally. Dave, we'll kick off with you, but what sort of motivates and keeps you inspired at work on a daily basis? Especially when, setbacks happen, shit goes wrong, what do you do, mate? How do you stay motivated?
Gosh, shit goes wrong occasionally. Look, it's actually being able to have people like Tony and all the other colleagues that I work closely beside me to actually talk, offload. As soon as you offload things, someone else gives you some responses, you can actually move past them. You ain't got no one that you're comfortable offloading problems to. You got a problem. Yeah. And so it's the people, again, going back to that, I work with some incredibly intelligent, smart, awesome people. And also a very supportive partner too, who listens to me ramble on when I get home. And that's, that's the people that I work with and the people around me. And like the company being family run, Mike, I can say anything I want to him and he won't charge you. So very, very lucky that we have this community as a team to be able to say things without being judged.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. Tony, what about you, mate?
I mean, I think I have to say pretty much the same, ditto, really. Stuff does go wrong. We don't live in a perfect world, unfortunately. But same thing. We've got a good group of colleagues, and we're very professional, but we keep it fun. So we try to keep it a little bit lighthearted, even in the darker moments. You have to have that little bit of humour as well. Yeah, absolutely. Just great team around you. I think it really helps. Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Yeah.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, lads, it's been great today. I want to do this again at some stage in the future, and I want to thank you both for being on the show. We do like to make sure that we put some connecting assets in the show notes. So if the community wanted to reach out with either of you and or, of course, the Tile Depot in New Zealand, whether they be living in Australia or living in New Zealand or around the world, doesn't really matter. Dave, how do they connect in with you? What's the best methods and ways for them to connect?
We'll start off with the website, which is www.tiledepot.co.nz. We also have an Instagram page under Tile Depot. We also have our own trade page focusing completely on trade, all one word, which is Tyler's Trade Pro. And for Tile Depot and Tyler's Trade Pro, we're on Facebook as well. So nice. It'll just give you, I think, most people tend to now probably go to social media to actually give you your first sort of, see what a company's all about. I do, and I guess the younger generation definitely will. So it gives you a really good identity of what we do, who we are, how we operate. So.
Yeah, nice. And your Instagram page, that's a trade one and a retail one, so there's two different ones?
There is two different ones. Our Tile Depot one is completely tiles. We also do a lot of bathware as well, which has been a huge asset to us. And there's a lot of stuff on there, some awesome visuals. And we have a person that works hugely, awesome person that works usually on that all the time to create what we've done in there. So
awesome. And I imagine that if the community wanted to reach out with you guys directly, they could get a hold of you through head office, through the website.
Yeah, through the website. You can obviously message on the social media too. I could give up my email address rather than my phone number.
No, let's not do either of that today. But knowing that they can get you through the website and send a message or just call up head office and get contact with you guys would be excellent. Lads, awesome. Thank you again for today, minus the technical glitches at the beginning, which happen all of the time. Tony, you're a bloody legend. Dave, you've got a lot of work to do to fix his computer. you guys have been awesome. We always, like to finish off the show by saying, thank you again, and until next time, stay connected. And again, and I've said this a couple of times, but I appreciate you guys coming on and looking forward to sharing this with the wider community that we have out there around Australia, New Zealand, and the rest of the world.
Yeah,
awesome.
cool.
Thank you for having us. Yeah. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Yeah, look, on behalf of the Tile Depot, Mark, and obviously me and Tony, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure, and obviously getting to meet you in person this year and eating glazed chicken burgers. It's
The donut glazed chicken burgers.
the donut burger. Look, it's been and love the work you do. And it's great to see your podcast come up regularly, and someone with so much passion in the industry, driving and having some really cool people on your podcast, etc. So yeah, very much appreciate us having us.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate your kind words, mate. We'll chat soon, lads.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
Cheers then. Thank you.